So if you're not here to listen to a talk about gadgets, you're in the wrong room. I'm Pünktlichkeit.
Ja, leider. Der Kollege hat zu spät aufgehört.
Yeah, you should have come here first. So that's the other thing I want to talk about. I'm your second choice?
Yeah. No.
Huh?
Yes.
Anyway, so we'll be talking about Google Gadgets and the Google Gadget API, and we'll be doing that in English because my slides are in English, and I do speak German, but not good enough to actually translate them into German, and I figured it would be better to have nicely worded English slides than German slides with embarrassing mistakes in it. However, if you have a question, and you know, feel free to ask it in German. I can even try to answer it in German. So here's the overview of the talk. I'll start a little bit about talking about myself, not only because it's one of my favorite subjects, but also because it has some sort of key message that comes back in the rest of the talk. We'll talk about what Google Gadgets are. Before I go on, who here has built a gadget before? Okay. That sounds about reasonable. And okay, so yeah, we talk a little bit about what a gadget looks like if you want to build one. We'll build one live on stage, and hope that actually works. I'll copy and paste a lot so that we reduce the. And then we go into the tech tips where we discuss some of the new features that make things that used to be hard in gadgets a lot easier, like embedding Flash objects or building tabs in your things. Then, some question and answering. And also, we can talk a little bit about the nice prizes that are to be won if you write a European gadget. Yeah, sorry. So, I'm Douwe Osinga. I work in the Zurich office as an engineer there, and I want to say, my relationship with gadgets is I'm not actually one of the core engineers that work on the thing, and so the fact that only 2 people here have built the gadget themselves is sort of, it makes me believe that the questions won't be too hard for me, because otherwise I would have trouble. The only thing that I ever did with gadgets initially was that about 2 years ago when we launched the iGoogle homepage, I talked to a random engineer about how nice it would be if we had gadgets on them, and we wrote this little document on how we could do that, and then I went off to do something completely different, and he went on to write the whole gadget thing. And and that's why I'm talking today. So this is the other thing I wanted to show you. This is an early version of the gadget that we're going to build today. It's something I built, I think, 4 years ago. It's on my personal homepage. It's a mashup between headlines from Google News and a map that I drew myself. Because 4 years ago, there was no Maps API, and there was actually also no News API. So the only way of doing this would be to actually scrape the homepage of Google News. And what happened is that somebody at Google came across this and said, well, we should either sue this guy because he's misusing our services, or we should hire him. And as luck would have it, they went for the second thing. I'm not sure what would have happened if I wouldn't have survived my interviews. Okay, so what's a gadget? I think the most scary part if you write gadget is that it's an XML document, which you can see because of this first line. The good news, of course, is that you can just copy that. The basic idea of a gadget is that you take a little functionality that you would normally put on a website, and you embed it in this gadget, and you make it easy for users to use this sort of functionality on other places, whether that's on the iGoogle homepage, or on their own homepage, or on the Google desktop, or nowadays even on the Vista sidebar, or I think for macOS even we have a little tool that makes it So here's a bunch of who here uses iGoogle as our homepage. Who has tried it? That's about it. So other people, why didn't you try it? No. So basically, it's I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's basically the normal Google search box, except for that you can put all these nice gadgets on it and make the thing look like Yahoo. But you still get the Google search results. So I already went through this a little bit. So where do you find these gadgets in real life? Obviously on the Google homepage, but since I think a year or so, it's also possible to embed these gadgets on your own web pages, whether this is your company thing and you want to add a little, I don't know, weather forecast for where you live, or even embed a map in a simple way, or whether this is your blog and you find this sort of, you have nothing to do and you still want to put a blog post out there and you find this little quiz that tells you how, if you were American president, which one you were. You have all kinds of gadgets like this, and you can put it in your blog thing in an easy way. Like I said, it also runs on Mac OS X and Windows Vista nowadays, and we even have, together with IBM, developed a version for the enterprise. They have this WebSphere thing that allows you as a company to build it up, but I don't think it's that relevant for this audience here. So the iGoogle homepage. This is what it would look like on your own web page. So yeah, this is, we have this webcam thing. It's kind of nice. You can just embed a webcam in an easy way and put it on your website instead of having to go through all the motions yourself to embed the JavaScript. The Google desktop, it's the Mac OS X. Well, this is a busy thing. In the enterprise, my favorite slide. So there's one gadget that's on here twice. You get the second prize if you guess which one. So yeah, we have the, it's really a simple way nowadays to build a gadget and to use it to drive extra traffic to your service or to extend your service beyond your homepage. Because one of the things is that if you build a homepage, how are people ever going to know about it? And even if they know about it, how are you going to make sure that they come back? It's harder and harder because there's more and more homepages. And with gadgets, you give them an easy way to you take a little piece of your website and put it somewhere else. And if you convince them to put it on their iGoogle page, then basically they're looking at your thing every day instead of having to be notified to or remember, oh yeah, I should go to this cool website all the time. Impressive growth. So we launched it here, and well, I must say that the growth of the iGoogle stuff is way beyond anything we actually imagined. So we're at over 800 million page views a week now. So that's if you can write your own gadget and sort of get a little bit of that, then you can drive a lot of traffic and do interesting things. Who writes gadgets? Well, obviously, not that many people do. Sorry. So yeah, we have the individuals that do this out of fun, but for businesses, there's a good case to be made that they should just be more. And the deal basically there is that as a business, you give a little bit of content away for free in the form of a gadget, and you get traffic or sort of well-knownness out of that. And since it's not very hard, you can just do that, and you can sort of see there's lots of serious businesses that do this. Okay, let's get around and try to see how we would build a gadget. Like I said, the gadget is a simple XML document that has basically 3 sections here. The top section is the module preferences, which is a bit of a misnomer, I would say, because it's more a description of sort of what your module is. And it's important to get that right because it basically determines what will show up in the directory. And the better it describes your thing, the more likely it is that people will actually use it, because they're going to see the preview. I think you can even you can attach a picture here that will show up here. You can also see that I actually copied this slide from somebody who is giving the same presentation as we speak in Spain, Madrid. The second section allows you to specify how the user can configure your gadget. So in this case, we let the user choose a color, and there's some sort of toggle, and we have this list thing. And it's nice to see that if you specify the thing as list, we generate this little list kind of widget that has a delete function, an add function, and it looks all kinds of nifty Ajaxy, but the only thing you have to do is just insert one line as list. And the third section is the actual content, and in this case it's a bit of a baby with a water head, because the actual content here just says "Hello World" in red. So we have the user preferences. Depending on what you want to do, you can have like this little frog, which I think in reality does not much more than that you can actually specify what it looks like and how the whole thing works. Or you can have some sort of link like for the Google Newsreader where you specify very simply a list of zip codes. The interesting other thing is that you can use hidden preferences. Hidden preferences are basically preferences that the user never sees and that you can manipulate from the gadget itself. So you can use this to either store state or figure out what the user implicitly is interested in. Okay, so this slide used to say that we can create a gadget in 5 minutes. Now it says that we can create one in 30 seconds. The problem with the 30 seconds is a little bit that I have to switch around with the laptop, and I don't really have a mouse here. So by the time I explain what my problems are, we're through it is 30 seconds. But you have to believe me that we can actually do this. So I went here to the gadget page, and there's a scratch pad that. And the nice thing about the scratch pad is that it allows you to work out a gadget without actually hosting it, without adding it to anything. You just paste whatever text you have in this edit box here. You click on the preview button, and you see what happens. So, for example, if we take the example that we, more or less that we had before, except for that we strip all the whole module preferences and all that sort of thing, and just put here "Hello World," and I'm sure you'll all believe me that I could type this in 30 seconds. And then we click preview, we see "Hello World." This is really a point where I would expect applause. Yeah. Well, not very impressive applause, was it? So we're going to make this cool. Now, how do you make a gadget cool, or anything cool? No, you add a map. It's rule number 1 of coolness. You add maps. That's why the other people, you all went to the maps presentation first, right? So, and if I find my mouse cursor back, oh, there it is. Sorry about this. I mean, this is a simple. I mean, now with the whole maplet stuff, it's a little overtaken. But this is a simple thing. The nice thing about the gadget is that this piece where you can insert HTML, you can also insert JavaScript, and with the JavaScript you can do all kinds of effects. In this case, we just include the Maps API object. We create a map, and then we center it somewhere on slightly to the west of Hamburg, I think. So now if we click on it, instead of Hello World, we got a map. Now, obviously, the point of this talk is that we're going to change this map into a map with news headlines on it. But in order to do that, we have to go through sort of the other features of gadgets to be able to do that. Oh, wait. Uh-oh. So the API part of the gadgets makes it a lot simpler to do all kinds of advanced features. And the way to do that is using the require tag. The require tag is part of the module preferences. And you say, okay, I want to have tabs, or I want to have flash, or I want to have drag and drop support, or the set preferences, that sort of thing. And it's really including a library in your thing. Recently we've launched a bunch of extensions on this, so I want to quickly go through some of these things that might be interesting for a developer of gadgets. One of them is analytics. Analytics, as you may or may not know, is Google's web analysis tool. Basically, you put a little piece of JavaScript on your web page, and you get quite nice and extensive reports on how your website is doing, where your people are coming from, and that sort of thing. Now, if you don't use this feature and you go to the gadget directory, we'll show you how many page views you have per week. And this is in itself sort of interesting. And if it's 32 million, then you can be happy. But maybe you want to know more about it, and you can do that by just simply adding the requires analytics tag to it, and then add this statement and put your analytics ID in here and some sort of virtual URL in there, and then the whole system will behave as if this thing is part of your website. So you choose a URL that's not actually part of your website. But then in your whole scheme, in your whole list of URLs, you'll see, oh yeah, this URL of my gadget actually gets this amount of traffic. And, they're coming from these countries, or, they immediately leave, that sort of information. Flash object. Flash is actually it's almost a natural to combine with gadget, because, you have this little self-contained application, and you want to distribute it to other websites. Now, of course, you can just paste the standard Macromedia supplied HTML code to do that, which looks a little bit like this. The problem with that is that it's dependent on the browser how it exactly looks. Macromedia might decide to add extra tags. It's all and it's a lot of typing too. It's never to be underestimated. So if you add this requires Flash, you can basically do this with this and have the same effect as you have here. Fetching remote content, which is the important part, because in order to create the gadget that I was talking about before with the headlines actually on the map, we have to get the headlines from somewhere. Now, Google News has an Atom feed. An Atom feed, does that mean anything to you here? Show of hands. Not so bad. So for other people, Atom feed it's like an RSS feed, if that's better. And for news, it just basically lists as an XML document all the news headlines, and you can then put them on your website or put them in a gadget. And we have an infrastructure to make this simple. We actually have 3 different functions to do this. So one of them is specially for RSS or Atom feeds. It's fetch as JSON. What it will do is it will, you give it the URL. We'll go to the URL, retrieve the RSS feed from that, then convert the RSS feed into a JavaScript data structure and supply your callback function with that JavaScript data function. And that thing is basically, it's a record with these fields, and then a list of entries, and for each entry you have a title, a link, summary, and a date, and you can do whatever you want with that. And it's, for our purposes of putting headlines on the news map, it's very convenient. In other words, actually, if we wouldn't have that, then we'd have to come up with something else, obviously. If you don't have an RSS feed, then it's more, it's randomly structured, but it's still an XML document. You can use the fetch XML content method, which does the same, except for that it returns not a properly and nicely defined JSON object, but it produces an XML document that you then have to parse yourself. And if you don't even have an XML document, but it's plain text, you can use the fetch content thing, which will just get the content of a whole web page, and then you will have to do your analyze. It's it's the most flexible solution, but it's also the hardest work. So easy, hard work, more features, less features. This is. We should probably skip this, since I want to show you how we can do this ourselves. So we go back to this sketch pad that we had before with our cool map. And we're going to add the... Damn it. Here we are. We're going to retrieve the news feed. So the only thing I added now is I added this fetch feed as JSON, and here it is URL. Now this URL here is, if you go to, it's basically the Google News headlines for the international version. You can see that if you look at the topic is W, which stands for world, and it's the US edition, and it outputs as atom. But you don't have to know that. You can just go to the Google News page, and you'll see the little atom link on the left side, and you just copy that link and put it in there, and then it will get it working. So what I say here is, get me this thing as a JSON object. If you're done, call my function callback, which is here, and get me at most 100 headlines. Now, we haven't done anything interesting yet in the callback function. The only thing we do here is if the fetch didn't work, we say, oops, there's no data. Well, actually, we don't say oops, but it's the same thing. And if we do get data, we just show an alert with how many entries we have retrieved. Now, in itself, not very interesting, but the nice thing about it is that it shows you that you can use alerts to sort of build up your program. You don't have to get it right in one thing. So now we go to the preview thing. We still see the same map. And it tells us, we have 100 headlines. Now, obviously, it would be more interesting if we actually show the headlines. But there's another problem. If we want to show these headlines on the map, we have to know where the headlines live. And, of course, there's... I think Yahoo Pipes supplies this little thing that actually will give you a coordinate for a string. And I think nowadays the Maps API does that too. But I was too lazy to figure out how that worked. Plus, I wanted to show you something hacky and how to get things done. So I went back to how I did the original thing with the map. And with the original thing, I had a very simple and hackish approach to thing that worked fine for some value of fine. So, don't get scared here. It's very simple. I have a huge JavaScript array here that consists of lists itself. And basically, the first two entries are coordinates, where does this country live, and then a bunch of keywords. So for Vietnam, we have Vietnam, Hanoi, Vietnamese. And, Vietnam sits in 106 and 16. Now, I did it for a previous project, but, it's not that hard to generate a list like this if you, scramble around a little bit on the internet. And then instead of what we did before in the callback, where we just alerted something if we got something back, we now go through this huge array that we have, and we try to find the first match. So basically, we take the description and the title, and then we go through this array, and we try to find if there's any of the keywords that actually matches the description or the title, and if so, we declare this article to be about that country, which is, well, it's a very rough estimation of geocoding. And then if we find one, we say title is in this location. Now, mind you, this location at this point is actually just a tuple, so it's the name of the coordinates. And but it gives you an idea. So here, if we now do the same callback, it will tell you that, it's completely wrong. Because, Blair says something about Africa, and we think it's in the United States. But, maybe he said it in the United States. Or it's second try. Well, this is better, right? This is in Iraq, and we think it's in Iraq. China, yeah, well, obviously this we could put in China, Japan, or Taiwan, but since we have this list alphabetically sorted more or less, we go for China because it's, first in the alphabet. And, et cetera, et cetera. So now the next phase of doing this would be to keep the same sort of thing going, but But then instead of printing a thing, we actually create one of those nice Google Maps markers and add that as an overlay to the thing. So it's the same as before, except for here we do we create a new point, and then we add an overlay with the link and the title of the thing. And now, if we go to the thing, also I changed the zoom level so that we actually see the thing. And now if you click on the thing, you see something happened in Australia. What could it be? Well, they increased the aid to the Philippines. And you can click the article and update. So, I mean, I would argue that it's because of the whole geocoding, and maybe Mesh can tell us something later about what the Maps API could provide us here that would make it better. But I would still argue it's quite an interesting way of looking at the news compared to having a list of all the things you see where something happened. I would put it on my Google homepage, and not just because I wrote it, because it's obviously a big reason to. So, how are we for time? 9 minutes? Yeah, we'll probably run a little late then, depending on how many questions there are. So, internationalization. Since we're in Europe here, we probably need less of a strong argument that this is important. Oops. Huh? Yes, but presentation is not. So if you don't internationalize your gadget, for a lot of people, they can't see anything. This is not good. I'm sorry about this. I will have to, because of my limited knowledge about PowerPoint, which I think is only a good thing, we'll have to go through the whole presentation again, but now we go quicker. Plus, we actually skipped the making of the demo. Yes, internationalize. So, but even so, a lot of people in Europe still have this idea that if they build it in their own language and then build an English version, they pretty much cover the whole market because they covered the most important language, their own, Dutch, and English, which a lot of people speak. But it turns out that even though most people on the internet do actually know some English, they're much more comfortable in their own language. And it's only like 1/3 of the internet population that is native English. The other ones really appreciate it if you create a version of whatever you do in their language. And in Google, we really try to do this, and we really try to get as many products as we can in as many languages as we can. And I think the Google.com homepage is the most internationalized version. And we do notice that even in locales like in Norway, where pretty much everybody speaks English, once you launch something in Norwegian, the use of the products really takes off. Sorry. So that's good. Oh, wait. Before I... we actually have support for it. So you can specify here that you can create these language bundles, which are basically XML documents with key value pairs. And for English, you would create one that is you have the hello and the hello world. And then for Japanese, you create the same one, except for that you insert just different things. And then if you want to add a language, you just add the language here, and you add another XML document, and we do the rest. And then the user can we make sure that it shows up in the right catalogs. And yes.
Is it also possible to put these message bundles in that locale descriptions so you don't have to have different types?
I have no idea. Yes.
Do you have to use XML for this, or is it a simpler way? Some kind of JSON, something like that?
No. I mean, of course, you could not use our infrastructure and do it that way. But if you want to use this infrastructure, you have to go with the rules that we make. Yes, that's how it is. Storing state. We briefly touched on this. So let's say I wanted to build a yellow note gadget, one of those things that you can put and put notes in it. You could have a little edit thing in the thing, and people could just type whatever they want. But then the next time they go to the iGoogle page, obviously what they typed in here is gone. Now I could put a save button here, but where do I save whatever it is? The simple solution is you actually store this in the user preferences. But you put, as data type, you put hidden. So the user never sees this as in their preferences, but it gets stored in the same thing. It's the same as in normal HTML editing. And then you put a little require feature set prefs in here, and now you can create this function that just stores whatever is in the yellow node in the text thing. And, the save node will now work. Yeah, we have to speed up. External caching. So you build this excellent kick-ass gadget, and you make sure you register it in the right way, and it gets hosted on Google. So we serve this page, and you think, I'm home free, but you're a huge success, and 2 weeks later your server falls over because of the excessive amount of traffic, and you wonder why. Well, that's because your gadget actually contains a flash object, and this flash object is only referenced from your gadget, so it still gets retrieved from your own server. You still pay for the bandwidth, and not so nice. So in order to make this not a problem, we have these functions that allow you to get a cached version of your thing. So in this case, for the flash, you would use the IG get cached URL. The first time anybody calls this, we just go out there, fetch this flash object, put it on one of our own servers, and give you the URL to that cached version. And the next time somebody retrieves the same thing, we already have the cached version, so we give you the same URL, which basically means that if millions of people in a week retrieve this flash object, your server only gets called like every half hour or something like that. We want to make sure that you didn't change the flash file, because otherwise, if we cache it forever, that wouldn't be good either. And basically, we pay for the bandwidth, and you get all the glory. It's a good deal. Yes. Let's not talk too much about the distribution. I don't think we have time for that. Okay, so here are a bunch of important URLs if you want to learn more about it. Obviously, the documentation itself, this also contains the scratchpad that we were talking about before that you can use to try the things live. The iGoogle homepage where you can park them. This thing here where you can show, where you can retrieve the HTML code that you would put on your own website to show a gadget. If you're doing very well, you might want to check this and see how well you're doing in the world thing. If you really want to know things, the discussion group is probably the best thing to go. It's not only people that are working on this, there's also a bunch of Google engineers there that try to solve hard questions and that also tend to announce or things there before anywhere else, so you get a nice preview on things. Also, we have this price competition thing that you can, if you haven't written a gadget, this would be a good opportunity. We have nice prizes to win. One of them is a visit to the Googleplex in Zurich, where I work, and you might end up having lunch with me. How's that for a prize? But seriously, the gadgets are doing a lot better in the US than they are in Europe, and we, as Europeans in Zurich, find that a little disturbing because it's nice technology. It is a great traffic driver, especially the gadgets for your own web page. There's no downsides to doing this, and especially with the support for internationalization, it should just be a home run. And so far, there hasn't happened really that much. I mean, it's working in Europe, but it's not as popular as it should be, and we want to change that, and that's why we have this competition. But you should really do it for yourself because it's cool and it's nice and it gets you traffic and maybe prices, but that's not the point. Okay, I think we have 1 minute for questions, or maybe 5 or so. I think you were first.
Can you also localize behavior, not just messages? I mean, for instance, date formats, they are different. in different languages? I mean, can you distinguish between language, client language, and call different functions?
Yes, I think so. Because basically, you can just have JavaScript that reacts on the tags, right? So you could, for example, you could just have one field that is, date format, and then you have some sort of JavaScript function that takes the date format and converts the date into the actual representation. Make sense? Yes?
Is this presentation available somewhere?
I don't know. No, I don't know. Huh?
That's the plan anyway.
It's a plan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh, right, yeah. I think actually I'm supposed to create a PDF version of this and then give it to somebody, and then it will be available. But since I haven't done it yet, I don't know. Yes?
I wasn't here from the beginning, so sorry if this was already asked, but those page views, how meaningful are they? Because if a user has iGoogle as the default homepage, or maybe a webmaster included the gadget on his website, it will generate a page view every time the user accesses Google? Or because I access Google maybe 10 times a day, but I don't actually look at the 10 gadgets that I have included, but all those would get like 10 page views. Is that correct?
Yes.
So those numbers are inflated?
Well, I wouldn't say they're inflated. I mean, they're inflated the same way as ads views are inflated, and we managed to build quite a business on top of that. Well,
You have to actually position your ads so it will be seen, but if you have too many pages on your iGoogle homepage, basically what the page view is.
no, I mean, obviously,
The Google homepage and not the gadget. It could be that the author, that the user doesn't look at the gadget.
no, obviously, I mean, a page view for a gadget is something else than a page view for a standalone page. That's clear. And the graph that I showed is mostly for relative views than you.
More useful to have something like gadget users or gadget views.
Sure.
Gadget actions, but those
Yes.
have to measure yourself.
No, well, yes, indeed, you came into this talk too late. So we have this analytics integration now, which basically you can put in require analytics, and then you can sort of measure page views or actions on an analytics level. And you have to, so you can basically say, well, anytime somebody presses the save button on my note, I know that he did something. I'm going to send a view to /gadget/save, something like that. So you still have to do the thinking yourself as to what it is that you want to measure, but I don't see a way around that. Yes?
About the language features, is language actually determined by what language the Google user has its homepage? How is it?
I think so. I'm not sure if you can switch to a different language.
It's just a question if it takes it from the browser preference or if it takes it from...
No, I think it takes it from the iGoogle homepage. Whatever it is that language you have there. There was another there-ish.
How to deploy these gadgets? It's I can put on normal HTML server. Or
Yes. Or yes. So basically, yeah. So in essence, the only thing you have is an XML document that you publish somewhere, and then you give us the URL. And you can do this on your own server, or you can, you can even use Google Pages. We have this Google Pages thing that allows you to do some sort of minimal web hosting. So if you don't have your own server, you can put it there. Yes.
Do you allow advertising within the gadget?
Yes. I mean, you can basically do whatever you want in your gadget. I mean, if you have a gadget like this, and you fill it up with advertising, then you might have trouble attracting visitors and people that want to use it. But sure. So we have a coffee break now. So what I would like to propose is anybody who wants to have coffee goes have coffee. And if you have more questions, just come up to me, and at some point I will also move in the direction of the coffee because I'd like to profit from that too, but we can all do that together.